Hello friends, this is Shelly. So glad you're here with me. We are going to make this beautiful owl. I used chenille, skinny chenille. It's a loops and threads yarn called skinny chenille in the colorway Panda Multi. It's a medium 4-weight yarn and it is soft and luxurious and absolutely beautiful. Now for those who need to know, it's a 7.7 ounce ball of yarn and we use just a little over half is my guess. I also used Caron's Simply Soft, and that is a 141 gram ball, and we hardly use any of that, and that is in the color Gray Heather. And then just little trace amounts of black, and I used Bernat Premium. I also used my 46 needle Addi. You can go ahead and use your Sentro, and you'll also need your 22 needle machine as well. And a few other little things like needles and stitch markers, etc. So once you have your supplies, let's get right into it. But friends, please take a moment to hit that like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I would really appreciate that. Just to make a mention also, which I very rarely do, but I do have a PayPal link on my channel just underneath. And if you want to support my channel in that way, I always appreciate that so much, and I thank you in advance for that. So my pattern's always given to you for free of charge, and it's my joy and privilege to do so. But if you want to support me in a different way, you can do that as well. So thank you, my friends, and I hope that you enjoy this tutorial. I can't wait to see your finished projects. To begin this project, we're going to take our 46 needle machine or your 48 needle Central, and we're going to bring our last white and our first black in line with our yarn guide there. And we're going to cast on, going in front of that first black, behind, in front, and behind all the way around. We're going to just let that slip through your fingers. Just like so. Till we get all the way around, but before we get to the end, we're going to set our row counter to 0. Then it's ready to begin. You are behind that last white needle. You're going to open your yarn feeder, pop that in there, and then you always want to go fairly slow for this first row, just to make sure every needle catches. There we go. Now you can crank up the speed a little bit. This yarn is like a dream in our machines. You're gonna love it. Only problem is I could not find the center pull. You guys, I was going crazy. I tried so hard to find the center pull in this little sucker, and I could not do it. So I have to stop and unwind it at times because I'm doing from the outside. But I'm going to hold it in my fingers like that because there's very little tension coming between those two fingers. And I just do it to guide the yarn. I can feel if there's a knot in the, at any point in the yarn. And I can feel sometimes you're using a ball that, you might not have a full ball there. And you want to feel to make sure that if your end of your ball is coming, that you don't keep knitting and then you have needles that are knitting with no yarn on them. So I just like the control. I like to hold it between my fingers just like that. Sometimes I'll just hold it like this and I'll hardly put any tension on it. And friends, you're going to just keep knitting, going round and round and round, just like this, until your project starts to touch the table. And once it starts to touch the table, which will probably be somewhere around row 55 or 60, then come back and see me, and I will tell you what to do with it then and give you further instructions. All right, once it starts to touch the table, now this particular yarn stretches funny, so it won't once we have it off the machine, but until we do, it's going to seem really like it's stretching all over the place, but it's going to be beautiful, trust me. Okay, so we're going to roll it up into a donut, and that helps us keep the tension around the barrel here nice and even and prevents us from dropping these little loops off the red teeth and dropping a row. You don't want that to happen. So when you're knitting your projects, especially if you're doing a long project like a scarf or something, every 15-20 rows, you just keep rolling it up into the tube, making that little donut bigger and bigger and bigger until you have your project off the machine. You never want it to sit on the table and push up on the tension. Okay, so we're almost done here. This doesn't take long at all. This yarn is beautiful in this machine. It's working like a dream. I'll see you when I get to row 100. Just gonna click on row 100. Now I'm gonna finish that row. I see that black divider coming around. I take a black permanent marker and mark that red divider that's between the last white and the first black. Now you're going to take a yarn tail that goes around your barrel at least 2 times. Okay, we're going to cut it off. Open that latch. Make sure your yarn tail goes between the last white and the first black. Otherwise, if you get it on this side by accident, you're going to end up having one of your rows drop. So we have to finish knitting this one, and we've got our yarn tail coming underneath this nook of this needle. We got to finish knitting that one as well. So we're going to now take our handle and we're going to rotate it. These 2 needles just finished knitting. These ones are now released. I'm going to take them off by picking them up with my needle. If you pull up too high on this when you're pulling, if you got lots of tension and you pull up too high, you're going to risk this next one falling off the red teeth as well. So be very, very careful. Okay, now that I keep turning it, I've got all these needles released. I can pull through. Okay, catch them on your needle with your thumb, then pull through. Come straight across instead of going up, and that'll help you. This yarn is so nice. Turn your handle and continue on. Till we get all of them off. Okay, friends, I'm almost done. You continue, and when you're done, I'll see you back. All right, we have our beautiful piece off the machine. And we are going to unravel it. Like I said, this yarn stretches funny, but it's going to be so beautiful. We're going to stretch it widthwise. Look how much length we're going to get out of that. And we're going to stretch it. That was lengthwise. And we're going to do widthwise. Then I'm going to just do this one more time in sections just because this yarn begs for it. Oh, it's so soft and beautiful. Now we're going to take an end, doesn't matter which end, take one end. Cut this off a little bit shorter because it's going to get longer and it's going to get in your way. As you pull, see how this curls up? Always, 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 as you go, smooth it out. Then you won't have such a funny looking top. It'll be nice and smooth. Sometimes people will comment in Facebook groups asking for advice on how you can make your cinch smoother so it's not so bunched up. That's what you got to do. You got to spread it out and make it nice and smooth as you cinch. Okay, don't pull this yarn too terribly tight because I'm not convinced it's not going to break. Let's just try it. Okay, it does break. It's not as weak as what I thought it would, but don't worry. When you use yarn like this, once it's knit together in its stitches, it's like a lot, what's the word I'm looking for? Sturdier. Single strands will break, but when you have it all knit together, it's beautiful. It's like the Forever Fleece Finder that I used to use that you can't get anymore. It would break so easily, but once you knit it into a project, it was sturdy. So that's what this is too. Now you could also use worsted weight yarn to go around, and what I'm doing is just picking up the top stitches just to reinforce it. Sorry, I didn't say that as I was doing it. It's just habit. You can use worsted weight yarn to do this instead of putting using this tail. You could just add a piece of worsted weight to your needle and go around and secure it if you feel more comfortable with that. But I am comfortable in knowing even if a child plays with this a lot, it's going to hold its place because I'm going to go around twice. Generally, I only need to go around once, but I will just take the precaution and go around twice. Okay, so once you do that and you pull it tight, you're going to make a little knot. So pick up two bars or 1 bar, or just a little bit like that. Make 1 knot. Push that knot down with your thumb. Then you're going to put your hand in through that piece, pop your needle into this very center of where you just closed. Grab it with your hand, it's on the inside so it doesn't snag. Then pull that whole end through. Just like that, and then you can pull this out and give it a little tug to get that knot on this side. And then you're going to do the very same thing to this one. Okay? Again, if it's way too long, just cut it off. it easier for yourself, smooth this out just like that as you go. Where's my tail? Making sure this tail stays out because you're gonna need it. Smooth this all out. You're gonna go around and reinforce this one as well, the same way we did the other end. Gonna go around the circle and reinforce it twice, okay? So friends, go ahead and do that, keeping this one out of the way as you go. Go ahead, go around your circle twice, and when you have that done, knot it off in one little knot, and then I'll meet you back. Once you have that knotted off, then you're going to take the inside one and pull it up to the top of this, so it's really snug to this top one, outside one, okay? So push, maybe smooth that out with your hands like that, and then you can take these two and you can tie them in a tight knot, making sure the inside one comes right up close. Careful with this yarn though, comes right up close. There we go. To the outside layer. And tie 3 knots is what I always do at the top here. Put this back on your needle. I had 2 of these needles. One went flying across the floor. I gotta find it. Where it's here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Okay. And we're going to pop that in between the 2 layers. Pull it out. Pull on it. Push down on your piece. Cut your tail. Then pull back up. And we've got this beautiful beanie that's not going to stay a beanie. Okay? Friends, that would make a beautiful, beautiful beanie. So when you're done this, go ahead and make yourself one. This is bonfire beanie, so you would just make it exactly with this many rows, and you wouldn't have a brim on it. So there you go. If you want to make it with a brim, then you would add more rows, of course. But this is exact amount that you would need if you want a bonfire beanie. So there you go, 2 in 1. Now you're going to cut off a long piece of yarn that will go around your beanie once, and we're going to prepare this to be cinched on the bottom. So you're going to take a look at your rows here. Once you have this all smoothed out so that it's nice and smooth on the inside and the outside, you're going to go ahead and you're going to pick up 2 bars, which is 1 row. Okay, go under that, then you're going to skip over 2, pick up 2, over 2, pick up 2, all around the very bottom edge, leaving a tail on this side too. Okay, and simply done. Over 2, under 2, over 2. I mean, that's under 2, over 2, under 2. And this is going to be beautiful when it's done. And you're going to go all the way around the perimeter, stopping every once in a while just to smooth it out to make sure that you're actually on the bottom edge. And we're going to continue in this motion, in this pattern, all the way around till we meet to this side. Okay? So go ahead, get that part done, and then we'll move on. Once you make it all the way around, you're going to grab your fiber fill and we're going to stuff it. I always pull my fiber fill apart, and I say that to people in every video that I use this for, because I really think that when you pull it apart, you get more use, like it goes a longer way. I think when it's in that little box, in the box that it comes in, it's so compacted that we need to fluff it up a bit. And you know, if you're like me and you go through box after box after box, if you can make it last a little bit further, then it's worth it. Now we're gonna take that, we're gonna just pull on it just to see where we're at. Then when I think that that's gonna be cinched like that, I'm gonna put just a little bit more in it, being careful not to overstuff. Overstuffed projects do not look as nice. When you stuff it so full that it starts to stretch like that, you know you need to take some fiber fill out, okay? Because that just is nasty. It doesn't look nice. It takes away the professional look of your piece, and you want to have it as nice as possible, right? So just make sure you stuff it properly, but not so much that your rows are starting to separate. Now that I will admit, this yarn is a little bit harder to work with in this way because it seems to stretch quite a bit. But once we have all the pieces attached, we have our neck string on, it will be fine. I'm confident of it. Because I know everyone that I did in the Forever Fleece Finer when we used to be able to get that. I love that yarn. I was always a little bit leery about it too, but it always worked beautifully for projects. Okay, so then assess it. It takes me a while to do this because I always want to make sure it's just got the exact right amount. So I play with it to get the shape I want. Then I close this up again with my hands and I just work it. There's a little piece here that is going to give me problems. I'm going to take that out. See that little lump that was there? That would stay there. So I'm gonna just play with it and take it out and smooth it out. Attention to detail makes the world of difference in every part of your project. I think that is perfect. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm going to tie this as much as I can without breaking the yarn. I can get it almost all the way closed. And then I'm going to put this on my needle. I'm going to go around and I'm going to reinforce that bottom. So it's nice and secure. I'm going to go around twice. Right, so just as we've been doing before, picking up that first layer of stitches and then pulling, leaving this other tail out because I'm going to use it to tie. Okay, friends, I'm going to go around twice, then I'm going to tie this off and I'm going to hide my yarn tail up into the body and cut it off. Having finished that, I'm going to now take another piece of yarn, much the same size, the same length that last one was. And we are going to go around, actually it'll be quite a bit longer, a little bit longer, 1.5 times the length, because we're going to double it just for strength purposes. So you're going to want it to go around your piece 1.5 times when it's doubled, okay? You're going to pop that double strand of yarn onto your needle and you're just going to eyeball what the middle would be. I'm going to say about there, maybe there. Okay, then you're going to pick up one row, so 2 strands, go over 2, pick up 2, over 2, pick up 2, all the way around. Let me just hold this sideways so I can see if I think, yeah, I think that's perfect. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I think as close to the center as you can figure out. And we're gonna try to get through both layers of our project. Sometimes I'm picking up 3 rows here, but that's okay. The point is you just want to get around and gather it. And every once in a while, you will stop and then you'll just follow your finger around here to make sure that you're not going up or down. It's very easy to go at an angle. So every once in a while, just check and see where you're at and make sure you're going straight. Okay, keep going until you get all the way around. Coming up on the end here. I'm gonna pull that through. Oops, I pulled that a little hard, and so now I got a short layer here, but that's okay. I'm gonna just stand up and make sure I'm recording, and I am. We're going to take these strands and we're going to tie them to cinch our neck. Now, here's the thing. So many times you see on Facebook, someone will take their thing and they'll just squeeze it as tight as they can to make the 2 separations. Don't do that. I want you to tighten it and have a nice even separation, but natural looking. Like, don't make it, you just want to have a nice soft separation between the 2. Don't squeeze it so tight that you look like you're choking the poor deer. Okay, so just something to just pay attention to when you're doing this. And then I'm going to double knot it here, and that's good. Sometimes when you're knotting it, then it loosens a bit, and if you want to go around one more time, you can. You can go around like this, or you can just, which I never do, but you can do it because it doesn't matter. But I think it makes more sense if you go, you can see here's where we went under this stitch here. So I call that a hill, and this is the valley. This is where that strand is going over. Here's the hill, here's the valley. I go under the valley and over the hill, and it makes a really smooth neck. And I'm actually going to do that all the way around because it did loosen a little bit when I tightened it. I did it too quickly. But I actually like to do this anyways because it makes a nicer looking neck. But in this case, with this fluffy yarn, the neck looks nice regardless. But I'm just going to show you what I'm doing here. I'm going to even miss a couple here. This is the best way to do it. Over the hills, under the valleys, so that when you pull it, it looks, you can't see the seam as much. You can see the difference even there, and I haven't even pulled it yet. There to there. So, you know what? Attention to detail, take the time to do it. I just told you you don't have to, but you know what? I shouldn't have said that. You do it because it just does make a difference. And you know what? What you're doing too is you are just giving it some extra stability. I'm going to go all the way around. I'm going to miss this one because it's too small to get in there. I'm going to go to this one, into that valley, pick it up. I'll see you when I get all the way around. All right, so there it is, all finished. And look how beautiful that seam is. Perfect, love it, okay? So what you're gonna do is now you're gonna assess it, and if you have one side that's smaller, that's shorter than the other, put that one at the top, and that will be the head. Grab your 22 needle machine and your gray yarn of choice, and we are going to move on to the next part. All right, so it's now time to make the circles for the eyes, and I'm using Caron Simply Soft in the colorway Gray Heather. It's soft and it's beautiful, and it's going to cause me problems to find the end. There we go. No, it's not. And we're going to bring our last white and our first black needle in line with our yarn guide, and we're going to cast on. So in front of that black one, behind, in front, behind, in front, and behind, all the way around. Just like that, so that it's behind that last white one. Pop it into your yarn feeder. Change your row counter to 0. Go slow for this first one because this yarn likes to split, and you want to make sure those gray loops go down over those red teeth, and then you can go faster. All right. When you have yarn that likes to split, you have to give it a little bit more attention after you've finished your cast on row. And this is 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. That's all I'm going to do. I'm watching that black divider come around. I'm going to cut off a tail long enough to cast off and to sew onto my project. Open that latch, put this between the last white and the first black, pop that down into that center, grab your needle, and we're going to cast off, making sure you finish knitting those two. Okay. This time I'm going to bring it all the way around so that this is like 2 needles over, somewhere in there. I don't want to go any farther or this needle's going to come up again and pull this loop off the teeth. But I always stand up and do this. Today I'm going to sit down. This is another way you can do it. You rotate it all the way around until you've got some loose stitches here. Making sure you don't go too far, because then, like I said, that white needle, this one's already going to come up, and then this one's going to come up, and you will drop your row. Okay, so I'm going to pick them up. I'm going to turn farther, and I'm going to continue taking my stitches off my machine until I get my project off. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cast on again. I'm going to knit another 12 rows and then cast off just like what I'm doing here. And then we will attach our eyes to our piece, okay? And there we go. I'm going to cast on, knit 12 rows, cast off, and then I'll meet you back. My biggest challenge is now at this time of the night when it starts to, and there's no light coming in through the window, and my lighting just gets bad and I have to almost quit. I've got some overhead lights here, and you know, I've bought some circular lights, but sometimes it still gets shadowy. So I'm going to see if I can just put this little white furry mat here so that you can see a contrast better with our gray, and we'll move on from here. So grab the 2 little eyes that we just made. We're going to take one side and we're going to pull on it. Then we're going to just cut. Actually, this is my longer tail, so I don't want to cut that off because we're going to use it for sewing. So I'm going to just deal with it. I'm going to put it on my, usually if I don't need it, I will cut it and make it shorter. But we're going to put it on our needle. Then we're going to go around that first top row of stitches, close that circle up tighter. Just give it a little bit of reinforcing. Just like that. It's nice and smooth. Pick up just one little bar there and tie a knot. Push that knot down with your thumbnail. Pop this needle into that center, taking that little fuzzy thing with it. And we're gonna pop it around to the other side. We're gonna go ahead and close up this other side as well. Now that this tail is through and on this side. Pull that and smooth out this edging so you have a nice, beautiful closure. Smooth it out as you go. Oops. This one you can cut off and make it shorter so it's not so awkward. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this piece on my needle. I'm going to go around and I'm going to reinforce this hole closed. So with this particular yarn, if you're using this same yarn, it closes tightly very easily, but we're still going to reinforce it once around this circle. We're going to then, that's good, just like that. Tie these two into a tight knot, bringing that underside up to this side and making them really close, so nice and tight, just like that. And we get a nice flat pancake. Tie that off. Take this yarn tail here, pop it into your work, pull it out, cut it off. We're going to take this longer one, put it back on our needle, and we are going to just, once we get this into a nice, beautiful circle, put it in between the layers and up to the side there, okay? Don't pull on it because I don't want to gather that, but so then you're going to just take a little piece at the top there and tie a knot so that when you do pull on it, I got cut off. So that when you do pull on it, then it's not going to gather it in here. Okay, so I was, that last clip into this clip, my camera timed out. I forgot to set the the timer so that my screen doesn't shut off, and so it shut off after 3 minutes and I lost you, and I was talking to myself for a longest time. I even started sewing this on. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take your piece, you're going to place it on your head, the head of the owl. Now, I already started this one because I thought I was talking to you. You're going to have, if you stand this up, you want to just visualize where the front of your eyes would go. It's not going to go too low. I can put easily 2.5 fingers in there, maybe 3 fingers in there, which doesn't help you because our fingers are all different, different sizes. But we're going to then just sew it on. So the first one, we're going to just pick up a little bit of that white, as both layers if you can, and then grab the gray. Go as close to the edge of the gray as you can, because you do not want to see little lines of sewing going all the way around. That will take just completely away from your project. Whenever you sew these on, you want it to be right up close to your edging so that's nice and smooth. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to continue sewing this one on till I'm right around to meet it at the beginning there. And when I get there, I'll come back and show you where we're going to place the second one, okay? I made it all the way around. Oh, it doesn't look like much like that, does it? But wait. It's going to be so beautiful. Take your second one. Now I want you to layer it, like put one over top of the other. Here's the center of this first one. Here's the edging. Just go, don't even go halfway, but almost halfway from the edge to here. Okay, so just pop that over just like that. Make sure it's the top of it is lined up, same kind of distance from the top of the head. And then you're going to begin sewing this one on. Such a fun project. I'm going to take an opportunity to ask you in the video here, when you watch and make my projects and then you post them in different Facebook groups, please post the link with it, if you don't mind, and direct people to the link. Of late, I've noticed there are people who are asking, can you tell me the row counts? Can you tell me the row counts? And I'm asking that you not do that. I try to catch everybody who does that and then kindly ask them to remove the row counts. As you can see, it takes a lot of work for us to make these free videos for you. And I know that I don't stand alone on this thought, that other YouTubers feel the same way. Please, first of all, don't ask people for row counts, because it's just inconsiderate to the person who's taken the time to make the video. But secondly, if somebody asks you, please just direct them to the video. And don't just kindly tell them that you don't give out row counts, and you're going to gladly give them the link to the video. And friends, that would just honestly mean a lot to me. I would appreciate that so much. Okay, so I'm going to continue going around until I get up to the top here, and then we will chat with you then. I've made it all the way around. I'm going to take these two yarn tails and I am going to tie a knot. I'm going to cut it off just because it's easier to work with when I want to go and hide it. Pop them both on my needle. And I'm going to go right close to that knot and come up. Pull on that quite tight so I can get that knot buried inside of the head. Then I can pull up on this two strands, cut it off, take my needle, pull up on that area there, and then pull up here where I smushed. Okay, there we go. So far, so good. I'm very happy with how that turned out. And now I've got myself some big mushroom button eyes. I get them off of Amazon. They have a button like hole. You sew them on, so you don't have to glue these ones on. But I should have mentioned before, if you are going to use safety eyes, then of course you know to put them on before you sew your eyes on, and that works for you. But for me, we're going to use these mushroom button eyes. They are large ones. I'm not sure how big. You know, I ordered. It's like a plastic little flower that's full of a pile of different sizes, and they're not marked on the container, so I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead, not do what I just did. I'm going to come in on the side of the head here, and I'm going to come up into the center of this eye. If I can all get there. There we go. Pull that through. Nice thing is I can use heavy yarn on this, so that I'm using the same yarn. And then I'm going to go right back down, if I can. Well, actually, I'm not going to go right down. I was going to, and you can, but I can already see I'm going to have some trouble because it's pretty thick. So I'm going to just pick up some stitches here, and I'm going to pop that on just like that. I'm going to pull on this one just so it comes down close. Then I'm going to go back into that button. And I'm just sewing it on like a button. Okay, so picking up some stitches here. I'll go over to the other side now so I can keep it fairly even. Come up through the center there. And pull. And I'm going to do that one more time, I think is all I need. I'm going to pick up some stitches. Go through that button. And pull. Then I'm going to go back down into that center, come out where I started, pull it through, and I'm going to pull it hard, okay? Just like that. Then what we're going to do, cut this off, save that long piece to do the other eye. We're going to tie this 3 times. There we go. Pop it back onto that needle. Go right into where we came out, go underneath the stuffing and out in another place, and then pull up. Cut off, pull up to hide that yarn tail, pull up to hide that yarn tail, and we have one beautifully, beautifully positioned eye. Love it. Okay, you can also put a bead of glue gun underneath, a hot glue under that if you want, but trust me, when you're using yarn as your thread to put it on, it's not going to come off. And so go ahead, sew the second one on, and then what you're going to want to do is grab your 22 needle machine again, and I'll see you back. Oops, did it again. We are going to work on the wings now. We're going to take a contrasting color of yarn for waste yarn because we're going to start our project with waste yarn. You want it to be a color that you can easily see your stitches from your project yarn against. So I'm going to bring the last white and the first black in line. I'm going to cast on in front and behind all the way around with my waste yarn. And it should be behind that last white into the yarn feeder. And then you have to just knit as many rows as you're comfortable knitting with waste yarn. I typically do 7, but I'm using a piece of yarn that I've used already, so I don't know that I'm going to get 7 out of it. I might get 6. I'm just going to do one more after this just to make sure. I see it coming around, but I'm going to set my row counter to 0. And there we go. If you want to do a little bit more, you go ahead. I wouldn't have made another round. Pop that in between the last white and the first black. Then I'm going to grab my working yarn. Wherever thou art. We're going to take that working yarn, pop it into the yarn guide, into the center between the last white, the first black. We're going to knit 4 needles, 3 or 4 needles, pop that down underneath the dividers, and then take both ends and pull. And if you want to back it up a couple seconds and just look at that, you'll notice that I tightened the tension there. Then we're going to go slowly to make sure it catches, because it's 2 different types of yarn. I want to make sure it catches on every one of those stitches. And then I'm going to just knit with an even speed and just a slight tension. And we're going to knit till we have 12 rows. This is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. We are going to cut our working yarn, open our latch, pop it between the last white, the first black, pop that down into there, grab our needle, and we are going to put some tension on here till those 2 are knit, and then you can turn it. This one is popping up, and this is our first one, so we're not going to go any farther. If this one's starting to pop up, then these 2 are the next 2 to pop up, and we don't want to drop our stitches, so we're going to now pick up that one. And then the next one. I'm being lazy tonight and sitting while I do this. What is that? Okay, that's belongs down there. There we go. Give it a little bit of a turn. Now I can start taking them off. I'm going to remove all of my stitches, and then I'm going to make one more. You're going to put on waste yarn. You're going to knit 12 rows, and then you're going to cast off just like what we're doing right now. Okay, friends? So go ahead, make 2 of these, and then I'll see you back. Once you have those 2 done, you're going to take your waste yarn, put it back in. You're going to do the same thing, cast on. But you're going to take your gray. The same gray that you're using for the eyes is what you're going to use for these 2 pieces. Let me just get 7 rows. There we go. See that black divider coming around? I'm going to cut my waste yarn, pop it in between the last white, the first black. I'm going to take that gray. I'm going to pop it into that yarn feeder, into the middle between the last white, the first black. I'm going to knit 3 or 4 needles, pull that to tighten the tension, and then I'm going to go slowly on the first row, which I forgot to change my counter, so I'm going to change it now, and then I'll do one less. And we are going to knit 16 rows, okay? So this is one that I just did, and I'm going to do 15 more to make 16 rows. Once I get 16 rows done, I'm going to cut a long tail. I'm going to cast off just like I did with the last 2 pieces. Then we're going to do a second one. Waste yarn, 16 rows of gray, and cast off. Okay, friends? Have fun. I'll see you when you're done. Here they all are. How fun. We're going to now close the ends, but let's take one of the white ones, okay? We're going to, let's get those tails out. We're going to first stretch it. Look how long this one stretches when you stretch it. Just love it. It's such beautiful yarn. You can pull that just a little bit. Now we're going to go to this side where our waste yarn is, okay? Grab yourself 2 stitch markers, bobby pins in my case. When you pull on your waste yarn, the very last white stitch that's coming out of is this one, okay? So if I pull up on this, that's this one. You're going to go ahead and put a stitch marker in that white stitch. Then you're going to go to the left of it, and right here where your white tail is, the one right beside it is the one you're going to put your stitch marker in. And we know all of these white little stitches are our rows. Okay, we have 22 stitches in our round, okay? So we're going to count, because we want the very far side here. So we're going to count this first one here as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This one right there is 11 and 12 right beside it. Sorry. What is going on here? Let me do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Put your hook underneath the 12th one that you counted. Then you're going to count that as number 1, because we want to make sure that we're working all 22 stitches. That's number 1. You're going to go up to 11, the one right beside it. We're going to take that stitch and put it through the stitch that's on our hook. Now we've worked 2. We're going to go down to the bottom row here. We're going to pick up that very next stitch, work it through the loop on our hook. That's 3. Go up to the top and 4. Oops. You'd think I'd never done this before. Good grief. And this is 5 foot. It's, you know what? I'm real, like I tell you all the time. I'm not going to edit stuff like that because, you know what? We all fumble. And we're going to go back and forth. And if you haven't done this many times, then you want to make sure that you're counting, because you do not want to miss one of these stitches, because then once you take your waste yarn off, that whole row is going to unravel. So I'm almost at the end here. Picking these up. You know that you didn't miss one when you get to this bottom bobby pin, this bottom stitch marker, and you're at number 21. Okay? If that is not stitch 21, then you have missed something along the line or picked up something that you shouldn't have. And you see how that one's hiding down there? You can pull up on that with that bobby pin, get underneath it, take that bobby pin out, work that stitch. You've just done 22, yarn over with the tail, pull it through, and you have just closed, beautifully closed your end there. We're going to now remove the waste yarn. Roll it up till that very top row, and when you rock that back and forth, you see that stitch that's on there, that loop that's on there. Pinch that loop, pull out that top row. Go down 5 or 6 stitches, do the same thing. Pinch that stitch, pull out that top row. And we're going to do that again. And again. Then you can now unwind your waste yarn. And And I will roll that up because I'm going to use it again. You're going to, see? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. You're going to go down to the other side. You're going to smooth that out before you pull it really tight. You're going to take your yarn tail. You guys, I got contacts today. I did. I thought, I'm going to try. I'm going to see. I had them when, like, I was really young. And I thought, man, I've been wearing glasses for so many years. I'm going to try contacts again. So I got them in today. And they're about ready to come out now. So I'm going to do a little bit more here with you. And then I'm going to go and take them out. It might take me an hour to get the suckers out, but I'll try. So there we go. I'm going to do a little bit more here. I'm going to tie a knot. Push that down with my thumb. One more. Push that down with my thumb. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to pop it into that center, in between the layers. Pull it out the side. And I'm going to cut it off. Sadly, the other one's the short one, and that's the one I need to sew, but it's very, very easy to add. Okay, so we've got one part of our wing done. You're going to go ahead and do that exact same thing for the other three. Okay, so this one, and this one. Do the exact same process, and when you have those done, come on back. So once we have all four of those done, we're going to take two of them. We're going to put the white one on top of the gray one. The shorter one on top of the longer one. We actually can get rid of this. No, we're not going to get rid of it. I was going to hide this one and get it out of the way, but we're not going to because I'm going to use that white one to sew it onto the body instead of this gray one. So I'm going to take the gray one and I'm going to pick up the first stitch there and then pick up the first stitch on that side. I'm going to come from that side. I'm not going to go over top and come back in. I'm going to go from that side that I just went out on. And I'm going to go to the next stitch and then go back and forth just like this. Picking up that very top stitch, going in on the same side that you came out. So I came out that white side, I'm going to go in that white side. Came out the gray side, I'm going to go in the gray side. I'm going to do this all the way across. Very simply, making a gathering cord here. Okay. Now, I've done this one already, so I want to make sure that they're exactly the same. So I'm going to hold that against there. Once you do one, then just make the second one the same. And I'm going to pull that. See if I have it the same, a little bit tighter. Okay, so that's close enough. Just a little bit of a guide there. I'm going to go ahead, knot that off. Do it one more time. I don't need this really long piece. I'm going to cut this off. Then I'm going to take this and hide it into my work. Cut it off. I'm going to do that with this gray one. Hide it into my work in between the two layers of the gray. Pull it out. Cut it off. It's now out of my way. I have my two wings just like that. Okay, there we go. And now I'm going to take one of the wings. I'm going to pop this white yarn tail onto my needle. And we're going to hold it. Let me just check my camera. All right, so I put the angle up just a little bit higher. What you're going to do is you're going to take a look at the side of the eye here and follow it all the way down. And then you're going to take this piece and you're going to place it so that we want it so that it goes at a slant this way. So the very back edge is up in the neck and this front edge is down a little ways, okay? But the front edge, you want to line it up with the eye, with the edge of the eye, and then bring it over just a little bit. So it's very slightly into the eye there. Come down like that. There we go. And add a slant. And then you're going to hold it in place there. You're going to go and you're going to pick up a piece of the neck and pull that up. Then you're going to come back up. You're going to grab through both sections, the white and the gray, and you're going to just sew this on going across. So I'm going to pick up the white, pick up the gray, pick up the body, and pull. Go on top, pick up the white, pick up the gray, pick up the body, and I'm going down at an angle, just like so. Pick up the white, pick up the gray, pick up the body, and pull. And I'm gonna just do that corner one more time, just like that. Then I've got my 2 wings. It's supposed to be like 1 wing, but I want it to have dimensions, so that's why I did it that way. I'm gonna leave this like that. I'm not gonna tie it off in a knot until I have this one placed, because sometimes you need to take them off and reposition them. And if you have it knotted, then you're in a pickle. So there we go. I'm gonna put that one at that angle like that. I'm gonna sew it on just the same way I sewed that one on. Then I'm gonna check to make sure that I think they're even. Pull that one up just a little bit. Make sure they're even and where I like them, and then I can knot off. Once they're where I want them to be, I'll knot it off, hide my tail, cut it off. We are now going to do all the other pieces. We are going to do the feet. We are going to do, what else are we going to do? The ears, and we're going to do a tiny little tail, okay? So I am going to mostly explain to you what we're gonna do, because we've done every, it's just gonna be like a repeat of the process that we've done already. So for the feet, we are going to cast on with waste yarn, okay? So behind and in front, all the way around. You are going to knit as many rows of waste yarn as what you're comfortable with. I always do 6 or 7. So pop that in there. You're going to knit however many rows of waste yarn that you want. Then on your last row of waste yarn, before you get to the end, you're going to set your counter to 0. Then you're going to put in your working yarn, your white, same color that you use for your body, and you're going to knit 16 rows. Once you get your 16 rows knit, you're going to cast off, just like what we've done on every other piece, okay? So 6 or 7 rows of waste yarn, 16 rows of white yarn for the feet, and take off a long tail, put it between the last white and the first black needle, and then you're going to cast off just like what we've been doing. Make 2. Once you have the feet done, I've got 2 of these. I'm going to put those aside. We're going to take our working yarn. We're going to make the ears. Bring our last white and our first black needle in line with our yarn guide. Let's cast on in front and behind all the way around. Now I'm telling you, this yarn likes to split over those 2 little red teeth, so let it be very loose. Like, I have 0 tension on there. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to make it even looser. Then I'm going to pop that in there. I'm going to set my row counter to 0. And I'm going to go very slowly for this first round, making sure those loops both go down over those red teeth, because they want to split. That one might split, so I'm going to help it. There we go. There we go. There we go. If I would have gone even a smidgen tighter. Sometimes, oops, see, that one split, which means it went in between those 2 red teeth. You gotta lift it up. And I'm gonna help this one. Sometimes that happens on your cast on row, because there's no weight underneath here to hold it down. And there it goes again. But you know what? I'm just gonna lift it up instead of starting over. Starting over would probably do the same thing. And it might do it for the second row too, because there's no weight, but go slow. Watch it pop down. See, it's popping down. You have to go the speed and the tension that your yarn and your machine like. If I was to go fast, it would be splitting until I get some weight on there. Now I feel I'm going to do 1 more row, Oops. You know what? I could, like, again, take this off camera and just redo the whole thing. But I know that some of you are going to struggle with this too. So let's just persevere together. It does not like this yarn. I'm just going to go a little faster. There we go. There. See? I think it split over 2 of them, but that's okay. I'm going to just leave it. And we're going to knit 10 rows. 7, 8. It can be done. This takes a little bit of time. 9 and 10. I'm going to watch for that black divider to come around. I'm going to stop it in front of my yarn feeder. I'm going to cut off a tail, open a latch, put it between the last white and the first black, put my needle on, and I'm going to remove. Just like what we've done in all the other pieces, okay? Now, you're going to take this off, then you're going to go ahead, you're going to cast on again, and you're going to knit 10 rows, cast off, and we have both of our ears done. Once you have 2 of these done for the ears, we're going to stretch them out, set them aside. Then you're going to cast on, same way that you did with the ears, and you're going to knit 6 rows. I'm going to go slowly here. I'm going to knit 6 rows, then I'm going to cast off, and that's going to be my tail. I'm going to go off camera because I have to help these ones. Some reason my 22 needle machine does not like this yarn, so I am going to be very careful, and you need to be very careful because you do not want to break a red tooth. So when you're lifting this up, you lift it up very gently. But you know what? It's worth it because if you were doing a big piece on the 22 where you needed lots of rows, then it would only do this for the first 4 or 5 rows until you had some weight on it, and then you wouldn't have this problem. So don't stress about it. There we go. Now I forgot how many rows I'm doing, but 6 rows. Go ahead and knit 6 rows, cast off, and that will be your tail. Then you can remove your machine. We're going to assemble all the rest of the pieces. Now that we've got all our pieces done, we're going to start with the feet here, and we're going to grab a little bit of stuffing. Not much, just a little bit, and you want it fairly flat, okay? So flatten it out if you can. Pop it into that foot there. Actually, what you should do is you should close this end first. That would help. So put your needle on your tail here. Go ahead, reinforce your end, tie a knot, and then hide this in, cut it off, and then come back and we'll continue on with this part, okay? I've got it all closed up. I put just a little bit of stuffing in there, and I did it in a way that it'd be flat, okay? Now, that's bunching up a little bit, so I'm going to actually take some out. I just want it to give it a little bit of bounce in there, but we want it to be flat. Okay, so if you look at it on the side version there, it's just got a light layer of stuffing in there. Now what you're going to do is you're going to put your stitch markers in stitch 1 and 22, and you're going to count around to 11 and 12. Put your crochet hook under 12, count that as number 1. I got to count this to make sure that's 12. Then pick up 11, and you're going to close this just the exact same way we closed the wings. You're going to tie off with this end yarn tail, and you're going to remove your waste yarn. Okay, go ahead and do that, and then I'll meet you back. Once you have that done, if your tail here you don't think is long enough for sewing, this one actually is a little too long even. If it's not long enough for sewing, then attach another one and hide your 2 ends, like tie another piece on, tie those 2 ends in a knot, hide the 2 tails, and then you've got a longer one. And that's what you're going to want to do just for sewing purposes. Now we're going to take our gray, the same gray that you used for the wings and the eyes. We're going to come up on the back. We're going to eyeball this as into 3 sections. 1, 2, 3. 3. You're going to come up from the back, 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. into that first section, come up. I think it needs to go over actually, I can see that already. About there. Leave a tail, come around and go in where you came out. It's important that you go in where you came out and then come back and come out at that same point. Keep that over here. You're gonna pull it and then you're gonna go again all the way around into, except for watch what I'm gonna do here, into that same point, and then you're gonna come up over here. So the same distance around, out, same distance away from that other side. You're gonna give that a little bit of a pull. You can pull that one and this one. Then you're gonna come around. You're gonna line this up. You're gonna go into there and out the back. Oops. And pull. And see, by going underneath, then you're not going to have this gray stripe going across, okay? So then we're going to go back around, go in where we came out, and come out there in the same spot. And we're going to pull. And we're going to hope that that looks like the same one. I did the other one. I think this one looks a little bit shorter than this one. And I'm a stickler for attention to detail, so I'm going to take this out. It takes only a few seconds to change it, but it makes all the difference in how it looks. So I'm going to put this back on. See how fast that was to take out? Make sure you do those little things. If you do it and it's like, oh, it looks good, but it's not great, make it great. So let's pull it out. We're going to go up a little bit higher here. Come back out the back. Put this over. Because if you leave a lot of little things in, like, okay, it still looks shorter for some reason. If you say it's okay, and you say it's okay on 10 different things on your piece, all those 10 things will add up and it's gonna look a little messy when you're done. So every time you see something, if you can catch it, change it. Now, I went in there, so I'm gonna go up a little bit further because it seems like that stitch is pulling it down. So we're gonna go up even a little bit further. You see what I'm doing. There we go, that's better. And then you're gonna come around one more time into that same space, out that same part back there. And then you're gonna take this back underneath and up where that other one is. See what I've done? This long white tail's in the way. You're gonna knot this off. I'm gonna cut this so that it's not so hard to do. I'm gonna knot it off, put these two tails back onto my needle and hide it up into my work. Do that for both feet. There we go. Magic of camera. I have one done already. Like, look at that. Like, friends, I am in love. I dare say this is the cutest owl I've seen. Oh, so cute. Okay, so now we're gonna put it upside down, but we're gonna put this other tail onto it. And then you notice how I didn't tie that one off, because you never tie off the first one when you have multiple ones to do, because you wanna make sure they're on there good. So I'm going to just overlap that just a little bit. For some reason, this one looks a little bit wider. It's just how it's stretched. We're going to overlap that just a tiny wee bit. Then I'm going to turn it back around and see if that's what I actually want to do. Yes, but not very far. You don't want to overlap it far. So I'm going to just actually, I'll show you. I'm going to just go into here and I'm going to pick up that corner. So I guess you can say it's not really overlapped, but kind of is. It's touching. That's better. Touching, not overlapping, touching. And then bring this right across and measure it up so that it's the same. And then go ahead and sew it on. Let me get a better angle for you here. Sew it on. So you see how this matches? This line matches, this line matches, the space in between here matches, the space in between here almost matches. I'll pull that up just a little bit. Now it does. And I got to be left-handed if I'm going to hold it at this angle for you, but I go from the top into the body and pull it out and pull. Then I go over to the top again, into the body, out, and I'm going to sew that all the way across. I have to put this closer to my body because that's a weird angle. Here, like this. Okay? Why were you struggling with that, Shelley? Tell me. Well, maybe because you've been working on this for a long time and it's time to take another break. Okay, so here we go. Do you ever talk to yourself? Actually, I'm talking to you. You know what? I pretend that you're in my room. I actually feel like you are. I know you're not, but we've become such good friends. I just, I feel like I'm spending time with my close friends. And there we go. Isn't that just precious? So what you're going to do here, and sometimes I will, when I have like this, I will sew it down so it stays in place, but I don't want to. I'm going to let it flop like that because I think it's fun. It's fun. So now that I know that they're in the right place, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to tie a knot. That's one. And two. I'm going to put it back on my needle. I'm going to hide my end and cut it off. I'm going to do the same for that side. Let's work on the ears. Always stretch your piece. I'm not going to stick with you on this whole thing because it's the same concept that we did for the eyes. So you're going to pull that tight. You're going to secure it around once. Then you're going to take your needle, put this end on your needle, pop it through the hole, and you're going to then bring that tail out. Then you're going to tighten this one, and you're going to flatten it into a pancake, just like this one. Same way we did the eyes. So if you forget, go back to the eyes and look how we've done it and get to this point and then see me back. Once you've got them both like that, we're going to take the one end. I hid the one inside and cut it off, but then we're going to trail this in between up to the side. And then you see if I pull on that, I'm going to gather it and it's going to look all wonky. So what I need to do is I need to put a little knot right in the top so that if I pull on it, it doesn't do anything. Now what you're going to do is you're going to fold this little guy in half. So have this on the side, fold it in half, just like that. And we're going to sew it across. Just up the side here. No rhyme or reason. You can go through every row if you want, but just sew it across. Bringing both halves together. When you have it in half like that and it's all sewed up, you're going to then fold it once again. Okay, so here's the round part here. You're going to fold the flat part together. Then you're going to sew. Oops. Make sure that your yarn tail is on your needle. Okay, then you're going to, so fold it in half and then sew down that seam. When you get to the center, tie a knot. And you've got this cute little ear. Now the owl's ear goes down. So when you have this little opening here, put it down like that. And this is the side that you just sewed is what's going to the head. I already put one on. Again, I didn't tie it off because we always want to make sure that they're matching. I'm going to pop that right there. Here's where my seam was. I'm going to eyeball where it goes here. Just like that. I got to turn this around because I'm coming down this way. Maybe you can see it better this way. And I'm going to pick up a piece where that seam was that I just did. And I'm going to grab a piece of the head. Try to get through both layers. Come up and grab across the seam there. Grab the head, go through both layers, and sometimes it helps to pick up some of the stuffing. Gives that little extra security. Then again, and then again, and I'm going to go up about there, and then I'm going to assess it. See, if you look at it, can you see what's wrong? This is why I don't tie it off. It's too far back. I'm gonna now take it off and I'm gonna move it up. That happens to me too, all the time. It's part of the process, friends. It's part of getting it accurate. And that is why you don't stress it. You don't just tie it off as though, you know, you don't care. You just do it until you get it straight. So I'm gonna move it forward, tying this seam, sewing that seam down like that so that the closed round part is at the top. I'm gonna move this a little bit closer. Once you have them placed where they are, I finished sewing that one down because I think that they're great where they are. But now what you're gonna do is you're going to go up one stitch, just like that, up to the opening, one stitch. Come down about a stitch. And then one more time. And you see how that just tightened that down so that it sits properly? And it's nice and secure. I'm going to now tie it off. One knot. Two knots. Through the head, under the stuffing, out another location. Pull, cut. Oh. Love. Okay, now what we're gonna do is the tail, moving right along. Okay, so this is a small little piece, but we're gonna still stretch it. Only 6 rows. We're gonna still stretch it. And then we're going to pull on the one end closed, smoothing that out as you go. Pull on the other end closed. We're not going to put our yarn tail into the center like we have done previously. We're just going to have it just like this, okay? But what you got to do is you got to reinforce both sides. Putting your needle on, going around, reinforcing, tying off, hiding one end, leaving the other tail for sewing. So I'm going to do this to both sides. But we're not done once you do that. So go ahead, finish off both sides. I'm going to hide this one. Cut it off. I'm going to do the same to the other, but I'm not going to cut it off because we have one more step. Once that's done, you got this little ball, really. So what we're going to do is you're going to flatten it out. Instead of flattening it out this way, which we have been doing, we're going to flatten it out lengthwise, just like that. Then we're going to push that in so that you have a little bowl like that. And then we're going to sew up this side. Now, generally, I would do a mattress stitch, which we can do if you like. But you don't need to. You're going to just, oops, what in the world? You're just going to grab a stitch and grab a stitch. Grab a stitch and grab a stitch and sew it up all the way down. Down to the bottom. Then we're going to do it again. So we've sewed it up on that side. Now this other side's open. We're going to push that in and we're going to sew this up. You could have rolled it up and sewed it too. That would have done the same thing. But I just find that this is neat. And we've just made it narrower. That's all we've done. Okay, so now we have this little tiny piece. We're going to take this, make one knot, grab our little owl, and we're going to sew it on. So just about there. And the reason why I want this, you don't even have to do this part, but the reason why I am doing it is because it'll help balance the legs and let this little guy sit. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to grab some of the body, grab along the outside, and I'm going to go all the way around. Rather than just get those scissors out of the way, rather than just sew it on from the middle, it'll look better and stay better if we just go around the perimeter. Pick up a little bit, then pick up the next section. See what I'm doing? It stabilizes it. Much, much better. And continuing around. From what I can see on images, when I go to Google and I type in owls, I think they do have a little tail like this, just like a little one. So, hey, we're not out to lunch. This keeps coming off my needle. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tie a knot, hide the end, cut it off. And there we go. Because we added that little tail and made it in the way that we did, it now can sit beautifully, and you can see it's just so dang cute. Now what you're going to want to do is grab your black yarn and your needle. We're going to make the nose. Once you have your black yarn on your needle, we're going to make the point of the nose come down to about there. So 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches in the middle. I'm going to come under the stuffing, up into the center of that stitch, just like that. Pull that through, leaving enough tail to tie off and hide. If that's not in the center, you need to move it, okay? Then I'm going to come just around to here. You have to really eyeball it, friends. I think that's too far. So I'm going to go there. And then I'm going to come up here. And then I'm going to go back down into that point. I'm going to come up. You might have to watch this again to see what I'm doing. But I wanted to establish my point. That's my point for the nose. Now I can start filling it in. So from there, looks like a little smile, but it won't. It'll be a little point. I'm going to go there, and then I'm going to come right up close to this one. And I'm going to pull through. Now here's a little thing that I always do. I go back into the point, I come up by the next one, then you take your fingernail and you put it over this one, the first one, or the last one that you did. Then you pull this so that this yarn strand goes right beside it and not over top of it and crisscrossy and all that kind of jazz. You want it to just be nice and smooth and even. And I'm going to go right up beside it again, put my nail there, pull it down and let it slide right into place. I'm going to keep filling that in from this side, and then I'm going to go over to this side and from underneath here, come back up this side and do it. If your, what do you call this, peak of the nose here gets a little bit squared off, then go a little bit lower and make it more pointy, okay? And that's going to happen. So keep going. I'm going to go back in. I'll do one more with you. Come up right next to it. Hold your finger there, let it slide into place. Come back down. I'm going to make my point a little bit lower already. Come right up next to that last stitch. Fill it in. Guide it down. And you're going to do that all the way across, then come back up and fill in this other side. Once I get it all filled in, and I had to move my point down twice, but once I get it all filled in how I want it, then I go back and I do this side, this edge, and I come back and I do this edge once again, just to frame it off beautifully. And then we pop this out the side there. Tie off. Got barely any there, but you tie off. You hide your ends. We are almost done. This little guy is adorable, just like this, but we're going to give him a little bit more embellishment. You're going to take some black yarn, quite a lengthy strip, and you're going to put it on your needle, and we're going to do some duplicate stitching. I am going to put it in the side here, and I'm going to come up maybe in line with the corner of his eye. somewhere in there, and I'm going to come through the middle of a stitch. Let me just show you the stitch. I'm going to pull this through and then I'll explain to you. This row goes like this. So the point of the V is at the bottom and the wide part of the V is up. Point of the V, wide part of the V in this row. So I came up into the middle of this stitch, and this is the stitch I'm going to duplicate, the one right above it. So I'm up in the middle here. I'm going to duplicate this stitch. So I'm going to go to the one above it, and I'm going to go through both bars. And bring that through, and I'm not going to pull so tight that it compromises the look of the stitch. And then I'm going to go back into that point. I'm going to go over one row, two rows. Come into the point of that same stitch, following the same row. Finish that stitch. I'm up in the point of this stitch, so that means I'm going to duplicate the one right above it. So then I got to go to the one above that, right there. Go through both bars. Don't let it get tangled on the foot there. Come through, back into the center. And I'm going to maybe go over one. It's hard to see with this yarn. 2 more rows. There we go. 2 more rows and do the same thing. This is the stitch I'm duplicating, so I go to the one right above it. This one was hard to see, but this one is easier for some reason. And I'm going to work my way across until I get even here. So that's probably 2 more. So I'm skipping every second rows, or every row. So this is a row. I'm going to go next into this one. Come right across underneath some of the stuffing so I don't see my brown or my black yarn trailing underneath. I'm going to pull that. I'm going to then make this tail longer on here. There we go. I'm going to duplicate this one. I pulled it too tight. Did you see how that happened? Because I caught on my finger. Then I'm going to go back down and I'm going to come up one more side here. I have a video on my channel that will teach you how to duplicate stitch if this is too fast for you. So go ahead and look for that. And I'm going to go up here. And I think that's far enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'm going to come up. And I'm just eyeballing this, my friends. I'm going to come up and I'm going to go into this stitch. I'll show you in a second. So I'm coming over a row, but I'm coming up 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. And I'm going to duplicate this stitch. I'm just going by what looks good. I'm going to duplicate that stitch, so I've got to go in there. And there's no right or wrong. Okay, and I'm going to go into here and I'm going to come into this row. Well, there is a right or a wrong if you want it to, if you want it to have some even flow to it. So I'm coming into the row that's right between those 2 stitches. And then I'm going to duplicate that stitch. I'm going to go back into the base. I'm going to come into this one. I'm going to, oh, that's the wrong row. Got to come up into here because I got to come up into the wide part where the point of the V comes to the bottom, and that's not where that is. So I'm going to just trail this across into here. There we go. And then I'm going to, well, let's see how this one looks. I think I might have to go up a stitch. Yep, I do. Okay. And I'm going to trail this in between this row, this row, this row, and then over here. And when I get that done, and it's okay if you kind of go up at a sort of a semicircle there too, but I went a little bit too low here. So I'm trying to stay on the same row. I'm just going to go under there and up into this next one, and that will place me in the right position. Okay. I'll do one more with you. And then I'm going to come across into this row here. I love to duplicate stitch. I think it's so much fun. Don't be intimidated by it. You can do it. We all have to learn. We all start somewhere. You should have seen when I first started doing duplicate stitching. Okay, so that kind of worked out because this one's a little lower than that one. It's kind of going up like this, and I kind of like that. And it's because, you know why it is? duh, it's because this is round, and it's just naturally forming that way. So lucky for me. One more over here, finding that row where the wide part of the V is going up, and there we go. And I'm going to go into here and down into there. And that, my friends, is how we're going to do it. And I'm going to go one more row, except for I'm just going to do these 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to come up, I'm going to find where the wide part of the V goes up, and that's right there, this row. I'm going to pull that, then I'm going to go here, back into here. I'm going to find this middle row here. See, the point of the V is down here, the wide part goes up, and I know I'm right in the right row. And then I'm going to go over to here. And we're going to complete this little beauty. Oh, you guys, I'm so pleased with this. Into here, under the stuffing, out where you went in. Pull it, but when you tighten it, don't tighten it so tight that it pulls on this and compromises the shape of that. Oh my goodness, I'm in love. I'm going to tie this off, hide my ends. And there he is, sitting on an old wagon wheel and enjoying the sunshine. Oh, what a life. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, my friends. Thank you for joining me. It's always a pleasure spending time with you. I appreciate you more than words can say. So thanks again for being a part of my channel community. Take care and have a blessed day.